I didn't mean to end up there. It was supposed to be just another Thursday night shift at the bar. Sticky floors, cheap perfume in the air, and the sharp burn of whiskey under my fingernails. Nothing special. The kind of night where the world just passed by outside the windows, and I stayed tucked in behind the counter, invisible. But then he walked in. I noticed him before I even meant to. A man like that doesn't blend in, no matter how dark the room is or how quiet he stays. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a suit so black it made the night look gray. He didn't look around, didn't scan the room like the rest of the vultures that circled our place. He just walked straight to the back corner, where no one ever sat, like he owned it. I kept wiping the counter, pretending not to stare. But I felt him, like static in the air before a storm. My fingertips tingled, my heart stuttered in my chest. "Go take his order," Jenna whispered from beside me, nudging my arm. "I'm on glasses," I muttered, still watching him through the mirror behind the bar. "You're also the only one he's looking at." I swallowed. Hard. So I went. The air near his booth felt colder, like he carried winter in his coat. He didn't even glance up as I approached, just rested his heavy hands on the table, one of them gloved in black leather, the other bare and scarred, small marks, like someone who'd lived through too many fights and forgot to be afraid of pain. "Can I?" My voice caught. I cleared my throat. "Can I get you something?" That's when he looked at me, eyes like obsidian. No warmth, no cruelty, just the kind of stillness that made me forget to breathe. His gaze scanned my face like it was something he'd seen before, something he'd waited for. "You work here every night?" he asked, voice low, almost velvet, but edged with steel. My throat went dry. "Just Thursdays and weekends." He leaned back slightly, like that was all he needed to know. "I'll have a bourbon," he said. Neat. I turned to go, my knees weak under me, like I'd run 5 flights of stairs without stopping. I didn't know why I was so shaken. I've served worse. I've flirted with jerks, dodged drunks, even had a bottle thrown once. But this man wasn't like them. He didn't ask for my name, but somehow it felt like he already knew it. When I brought back his drink, he didn't touch it. He just looked at me again, like I was the puzzle he'd spent years trying to solve. I could smell his cologne now, something dark and woodsy, with a sharp note beneath it. "Not store-bought. Not ordinary. You're not from around here," I said without thinking. He smiled then, not a warm smile. It was slow and knowing, like he'd caught me in something I didn't realize I was confessing. "No," he said. "But I came for something." That was when everything shifted. Sirens screamed past the window, too loud, too close. I flinched, and his hand moved, fast, like instinct, catching my wrist before I could step back. "Don't be scared," he murmured. "I'm not," I lied, though my pulse pounded against his fingers like a trapped bird. He leaned forward, and I swear the whole room went quiet, like even the music from the jukebox held its breath. "I don't even know you," I whispered, unsure why my voice sounded more like a confession than a protest. And that smirk. God, that smirk. Arrogant, dangerous, but not unkind. "You will," he said. I should have walked away. I should have pulled my arm back, told Jenna I was taking a smoke break, maybe run out the back door and never looked back. But I didn't. I stayed. I stayed. That night turned thick, like the air was holding its breath. The lights in the bar buzzed above me, dull and flickering, and the bourbon I'd served him remained untouched. He still had my wrist, gently, like he was testing how easily I'd pull away. I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I was too stunned, too curious. Or maybe, deep down, something in me wanted him to keep holding on. "You should let go," I said, though my voice betrayed me. It came out soft, almost like a question. He did. But not because I asked. He let go like he allowed himself to, like he was deciding how much space I could have. "I won't hurt you," he said quietly. "That's exactly what someone who would says," I replied, trying to sound tougher than I felt. That made him chuckle, a low sound like gravel and silk. "You're brave," he said, "but your hands are shaking." I crossed my arms, trying to hide it. My skin was still buzzing from where he'd touched me. This wasn't normal. This wasn't safe. But Safe never looked at me the way he did. "I don't even know your name," I said. He raised a brow, leaned back slowly, and finally, took a sip of the bourbon. "You don't want to know my name," he replied, his eyes never leaving mine. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't. He considered me for a moment, tilting the glass in his hand. "Luca." It fit him. Sharp. "Foreign, smooth, dangerous. Is that your real name?" "No," he said without hesitation. I blinked. "Then why tell me at all?" "Because it's the one I want you to remember." The way he said it made my chest tighten. Like somehow I was already inside some plan I didn't agree to. Like he was putting marks on a map, and I was the center. The bell above the bar rang as more customers pushed through the door, but Luca didn't glance at them. He only watched me. It was unnerving. No man had ever looked at me like I was something worth studying, like I wasn't just background noise in a low-life bar. I finally stepped back, cleared my throat. "Well, Luca, enjoy your drink. I've got work." I tried to walk away. Really, I did. But I could feel him behind me, the weight of his stare like heat on my back. I wiped the same part of the counter 3 times, hands unsteady. Jenna gave me a look from the other end, mouthing, "Who is he?" I just shook my head, because I didn't know. At closing time, he was still there. The rest of the bar had cleared out. Chairs up, lights half dimmed. The only sound was the mop sloshing in the bucket and the soft hum of the fridge. I didn't want to admit I was stalling, but I was. I kept rechecking the till, rearranging bottles, sweeping where it didn't need sweeping, and still, he waited. "Do you walk home?" he asked, breaking the silence. I looked up. He was standing now, tall and terrifying, yet strangely calm, like a wave that hasn't crashed yet. "Sometimes?" I said. "Depends. Let me give you a ride." My breath hitched. "No offense," I said carefully, "but I don't usually get in cars with strangers who lie about their names." He smiled. Not like before. This one was almost soft, like I'd surprised him. "You're smart." "I try. But not cautious enough," he added. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? He stepped closer, not threatening, just closer. Close enough that I smelled the spice of his cologne again, and something else under it. Gunmetal, maybe, or danger. It means people are watching you now because they saw you with me, and they're wondering what you are to me. "I'm nothing to you," I said, but the words came out like a question, not a fact. Luca didn't blink. Not yet. And just like that, the ground shifted again. I should have been scared, and I was. But beneath it, something else throbbed in my chest. Excitement, curiosity, some twisted thread of destiny pulling me toward him. He walked to the door, held it open. "You can come with me, or you can pretend this night never happened," he said. "But if you go home alone, they'll still follow you." My blood turned to ice. Who will follow me? He didn't answer, just said, "Choose." And I stood there, one hand still gripping the rag, my heart caught in the space between fear and fascination. I stood there staring at the open door like it led to another world. And maybe it did. Outside, the street was nearly silent, empty except for the soft buzz of the streetlight and the distant hum of a car engine that never seemed to leave. My gut twisted. He was right. Someone was watching. I didn't even realize I was moving until the night air hit my face. I followed him out, my jacket still inside, arms wrapped around myself for warmth, or maybe protection, though neither did much good. His car was black, sleek and too clean for this part of town. It didn't just sit at the curb, it waited. Like it belonged to someone who never had to wait for anything. He opened the passenger door for me. I paused. "Are you kidnapping me, or is this the part where I pretend I had a choice?" His eyes locked with mine again, dark and unreadable. "You do have a choice. You can say no and walk away. But you said someone's watching." "They are." I hesitated. My breath fogged in the air between us, and the wind tugged at my hair like it wanted to pull me in either direction, toward danger or safety. And I couldn't tell which one he was anymore. I climbed in. The door shut with a soft click. A sound too quiet for how loud my heart was beating. He got in beside me and started the engine without a word. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was electric, tense. It filled every corner of the car like invisible smoke. "Where are we going?" I finally asked, staring at the city lights blurring past the window. "A safe place. Your place." "No, someone else's." He didn't answer right away. "A property I own." That made me pause. "You own property?" "I own a lot of things." Something about the way he said it made my skin tighten. He didn't say it to brag. He said it like a warning. We drove for 20 minutes, out of downtown, past the flashing signs and broken sidewalks, into a part of the city where the streets got wider, the houses older, and the silence deeper. I watched his hands on the wheel, clean but not soft. The kind of hands that had seen too much, done too much. I shouldn't have been calm. But weirdly I was, and I hated that. I hated how part of me wanted to be here, with him. "You're not asking the one question most people do," he said, his eyes still on the road. "What's that?" "Who I am," I swallowed. I figured if I had to ask, it'd already be too late. He looked at me for a second, like I'd said something unexpected again. "That's the second time you've surprised me tonight." I turned my face toward the window again, pretending I didn't feel the heat rise in my cheeks. He pulled into a long driveway, the tires crunching over gravel. The house was old, Victorian style, probably built 100 years ago. Not flashy, not abandoned, just waiting, like him. He opened the car door for me again. Always a gentleman, even when nothing about him felt safe. "Come inside." "I won't touch you," I raised a brow. "Did you think I was worried about that?" "No," he said softly. "I think you were worried you wanted me to. That shut me up." Inside, the house smelled like cedar and something faintly floral. Maybe jasmine? Not what I expected from a man like him. The walls were lined with books. Not guns, not safes, just books. Hundreds of them, arranged like they'd been touched, read, loved. "This doesn't look like the home of a criminal," I said, barely above a whisper. He closed the door gently behind us, locking it with a quiet click. "It's not," he said. "It's the home of a man who became one." I turned toward him slowly. "So it's true." He nodded. "You're Mafia." He stepped forward, not threatening, but close enough that I could feel his presence settle into my bones. "I was born into it. I didn't choose this life, but you're not running from it either." He looked at me with something unreadable in his eyes. Sadness, maybe. Or guilt. "No," he said. "I'm just trying not to lose the last piece of myself that's still human." I didn't expect that. I didn't know what I expected, and I didn't know why that made my chest ache. I don't know what I expected when I followed him into that house. But it wasn't this. It wasn't the worn armchair by the fire, or the old piano in the corner with a chipped key. It wasn't the soft yellow lighting that made the walls glow like honey. It wasn't the framed photo I caught a glimpse of on the shelf. A younger Luca, maybe 17, with an older man beside him. Both serious, both in suits. The kind of photo that told a story no one ever really talked about. It wasn't what I imagined a mafia boss's hideout to be. "Do you live here alone?" I asked as I walked further in, still half expecting armed guards to appear from the shadows. For now, there was that heaviness again in his voice, like every word he spoke carried the weight of something he wasn't saying. I turned back to face him. "So what do you want from me?" He didn't answer right away, just walked past me and poured himself a glass of water in the kitchen, like this was normal. Like none of this. The bar, the ride, the fact that I was now in a house with a man who had blood on his hands, was strange. "I didn't bring you here to hurt you, if that's what you're thinking." I wasn't sure what I was thinking. My thoughts were a mess, tangled up in fear, curiosity, and something I hated admitting to myself. Desire. "What are you doing then?" I asked, quieter this time. He looked up, glass still in hand, his eyes so dark they didn't reflect the light. "I'm trying to protect you." I let out a laugh, short, sharp. "From what?" His jaw tensed, and that's when I saw it. A flicker of something real. Something broken behind all that power. From the people who think you matter to me. My throat tightened. But I don't. I know, he said. That's the problem. He put the glass down, then walked toward me. Slow, deliberate steps that made the air thicken between us. You spoke to me. That's all it took. One look, one conversation, one moment too long in my presence. He stopped in front of me. Now they'll wonder who you are, why I noticed you, what you mean to me. And what do I mean to you? I whispered. He reached up, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. His touch was gentle, but my skin lit up like fire beneath his fingers. Right now? You're a mistake I don't want to undo. My breath caught. Everything about this was wrong. Everything screamed danger. I should have run hours ago. But instead, I stood there with my heart thudding against my ribs like it was begging to break free. And when he looked at me like that, like I was the one thing in his world not already ruined, I didn't know how to move. I'm not part of your world, I whispered. No, he said. But maybe you were meant to be. Something deep in my chest cracked open. Why me? I asked. He hesitated, then said, Because you looked at me without fear. Because you spoke to me like I was a man, not a monster. Because for 5 minutes I felt like I wasn't already dead inside. I didn't know what to say. There was nothing in my world, in my normal, simple, broke bartending world, that could prepare me for this. For him. I can't promise you anything, he said. Not safety, not a future. But if you stay, I'll make sure no one touches you. I searched his face, looking for the lie, but there wasn't one. There was only that truth, brutal and soft at the same time, that he'd already decided something I hadn't caught up to yet. He cared, and it was going to cost both of us. The room fell silent again, but it wasn't cold this time. It was heavy, intimate. I stepped back a little, needing space to breathe, to think. I need to go home. His expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes dimmed just a little. I'll have someone take you. You don't have to. I do, he interrupted. Because the second you walked back to that bar, you stopped being invisible. I nodded, slowly, chest tight with everything unsaid. I reached for the door, but before I left, I looked over my shoulder. Luca? He looked up. Are you always this good at ruining lives? His smirk returned. That signature one that had pulled me in from the very first second. Only the ones that matter. Second. Only the ones that matter. I didn't sleep that night, even after I got home. Even after the black SUV Luca sent dropped me off right at my door like I was royalty, or cargo. I sat on the edge of my bed with my boots still on and my heart still racing. My apartment was cold, quiet, dim. Usually I found comfort in that. But now it just felt like I was being watched. And maybe I was. His words wouldn't leave me. You stopped being invisible. I'd never thought of myself that way. Invisible. But maybe I was. A background girl in my own story. Nobody ever asked my name twice. Nobody looked at me like I was something. Until him. I tried to convince myself it was just fear. That this obsession with the way he looked at me, the way he moved, the way he felt. It was just adrenaline. Trauma. That I'd wake up in the morning and laugh about it. Go back to bartending. Forget all about the man with the black eyes and the bulletproof heart. But I didn't forget. Not the next morning. Not the one after that. And not when the envelope slid under my door. There was no return address. No note, just a photo, me walking home, 2 nights ago, and another me. Leaning into the passenger seat of his car. My stomach dropped. My hands turned to ice. The third photo was the worst. It was taken through the window of the bar. I was laughing at something Jenna said, head tilted back, completely unaware. Luca was in the background, standing at the corner of the room, just barely in frame. Watching me. Someone had been following both of us. I fumbled to lock the door. Then the windows. I checked behind the shower curtain, under the bed. It was stupid, but I couldn't help it. I felt exposed. Like any second someone would burst in and, knock, knock, I nearly screamed. I froze. 2 slow knocks. Then silence. Who is it? I called, trying to sound firm. Jesse. From downstairs. Relief. Sort of. I opened the door an inch, Jesse was my neighbor, harmless, always wore pajama pants and smelled like weed and vanilla candles. Some guy came by earlier asking about you, he said, eyes wide like he was enjoying the gossip. My stomach twisted again. What kind of guy? Sharp suit, scar on his cheek. Looked like he eats people for breakfast. He grinned. Didn't give a name. Just asked what time you come and go. I shut the door before I even thanked him. I didn't know if it was Luca's people or someone else's. But either way, this was spiraling fast. So I did the stupidest thing I could think of. I called him. I didn't even remember saving his number. But somehow it was there. Luca, just that. No last name, like I ever had a chance of knowing it. He answered on the second ring. You okay? No hello, no pretense, just instinct. Someone sent me pictures, I said, voice shaking. I know, he said. That stopped me cold. What do you mean you know? I got the same ones, he replied. And more. Who took them? A pause. Then, someone trying to send a message, I swallowed. To you or me? Both. He didn't ask if he should come over. He didn't ask if I wanted his help. He just said, pack a bag. I'm sending someone to get you. You're not safe there anymore, I almost argued. Almost told him I could handle myself. But I didn't, because deep down I knew it was true. I wasn't safe, and it was too late to pretend otherwise. 15 minutes later, I was back in the same SUV. But this time, it wasn't just fear sitting in my chest. It was something else, something heavier. Final. When I walked through the doors of that house again, Luca was waiting at the top of the stairs. His jacket was off. His sleeves were rolled. There was a pistol on the table beside him, like it belonged there. I froze. He walked toward me, slow and deliberate. I didn't want this to happen so soon, he said. But someone's forcing my hand. Why me? I asked again, voice barely a whisper. This time, he answered without hesitation. Because you're mine now, and they know it. I should have run when he said that. You're mine now. 4 words. 4 quiet, dangerous words that settled into my bones like heat, like a warning, like a promise. But instead of backing away, I just stood there in the doorway, one hand clenched around the strap of my duffel bag, and the other balled so tightly at my side, my nails dug into my palm. I didn't even feel the sting. Luca stepped closer. He was barefoot, his dress shirt half unbuttoned, sleeves still rolled from whatever business he'd just handled. There was something disturbingly domestic about it. Like this wasn't a crime lord pulling strings in the shadows. It was a man at home, waiting for me to come back. And maybe that's what scared me the most. You say that like I don't get a say, I whispered. He stopped inches from me. You do, you always have. But now your choices have consequences. Not just for you. I looked up at him, really looked at him. His face was calm, but not at peace. That scar near his jaw twitched slightly when he clenched his teeth, and his eyes, they were burning. Controlled fire. Waiting. You pulled me into this, I said. I warned you. You didn't tell me people would be following me, watching me, sending me photos, Luca. He flinched a little at his name, like hearing it from my mouth made it real. I know, he said, quieter. I didn't think it would happen this fast. I underestimated how curious they'd be. Who are they? I snapped. You keep saying they, like I know who you're talking about. He turned and walked to the bar cart in the corner. Poured himself a drink. Whiskey, 2 fingers, neat. No offer for me. Probably smart. There are factions, he said, sipping. Old families. Some want peace. Some want war. I try to stay in the middle. I raised an eyebrow. A mafia boss with a neutral heart? He looked over his shoulder at me. You think I enjoy this? I don't know what you enjoy. I barely know who you are. You know enough. No, I said, stepping forward now, heat in my chest. I know what you want me to see. I know how you look at me like I'm a prize and a liability all in one. I know that somehow, with barely any words, you've made me feel like I'm drowning in something I didn't ask for. But I don't know who you are, and I deserve to. He stared at me in silence. Then he finished his drink in one long swallow. You're right, he said finally. Come upstairs. I blinked. What? I'm going to show you something. Everything in me wanted to say no, but I followed him anyway. The hallway upstairs was quiet, dimly lit. He stopped in front of a door with no handle, just a keypad. "This is where the truth lives," he said, punching in the code. The lock clicked, and he pushed the door open. It was a study, but not like the one downstairs. This one had red walls, low lighting, no windows, and on every wall, pictures, documents, maps, strings connecting names and faces. It was like stepping into a war room, or a confession. I walked in slowly, my breath caught in my throat. "Is that you?" I turned toward him. "What?" He walked to one of the boards and tapped a photo. Me, from weeks ago, in my apron, laughing at something. Another one, me on the subway, me leaving my apartment, me carrying groceries. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I told you," he said. "The second I saw you, something changed." I didn't know what it was at first. I thought it was obsession. I thought it was a mistake. And now? Now I think it's fate. I backed away. My chest was tight. My ears rang. I wasn't sure if I wanted to scream or collapse. "You've been watching me, before we even met." He nodded. Didn't flinch. "Yes. That's not fate, Luca. That's control." He stepped toward me again. This time slower, not threatening, but intense. "I don't want to control you," he said. "I want to keep you safe, alive, mine." I shook my head, tears burning now. "This isn't love. This is madness. Maybe," he said. "But it's the only thing I feel anymore. The only thing that still makes me feel human." I turned toward the door, heart hammering. He didn't stop me. He just said quietly behind me, "If you walk out now, they'll come for you. Not because of what you know, but because of what you mean to me." I didn't answer. I opened the door. I stepped out. But I didn't leave. Because deep down, I already knew the truth. I wasn't running from him. I was running from what he made me feel. I was running from what he made me feel. I didn't leave the house that night. I told myself I was just tired. That I needed rest. That stepping out into the cold would only give whoever was watching me another advantage. But the truth sat heavier than that. It was thick in my lungs, bitter on my tongue. I stayed because I didn't know who I was anymore. Not since Luca walked into my life like a shadow I never saw coming. I stayed because part of me wanted to. He didn't follow me after I left the war room. He didn't call out my name or beg me to understand. He let me sit alone on the edge of the guest bed in a house that felt too quiet, wearing someone else's clothes, soft cotton and too big sleeves, while the wind scraped at the windows like ghosts demanding to be let in. I stared at the ceiling for hours, mind spinning. My phone buzzed once. "Jenna, where the hell are you?" I didn't answer. What could I say? "Hey, turns out I might be in love with the man who's been stalking me for weeks, who also happens to be the center of a criminal empire, and now I'm probably on a hit list because I made the mistake of asking for his name." Yeah. No. There was no text for that. At some point, my body gave in, and I fell asleep with the lamp still on and the covers barely pulled up. When I woke up, he was standing in the doorway. I sat up fast. "How long have you been standing there?" "Not long," he said. "I didn't want to wake you." He looked different in the daylight, softer, less untouchable. His hair was damp like he'd just showered, and his shirt was wrinkled like he hadn't slept either. "Why are you really doing this?" I asked. My voice was raw. "Why me, Luca? Why this?" He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Because everything in my world is cold, negotiated, bloody, but you—" His gaze lowered. "You weren't meant to be part of it, and yet you fit in places I didn't think anyone could." "That's not an answer." "Yes, it is," he said. "You're not an escape. You're an anchor." My chest tightened. "Do you even hear yourself?" "Yes, and I've never spoken more clearly." I stood slowly, keeping the space between us. "I'm not built for this. I'm not one of your soldiers or some girl who wants to be queen of the underworld. I don't want blood on my hands, Luca. I don't want someone else to pay because of me." He walked in then, closed the door behind him. The lock clicked into place like it always did. Soft, final. "I don't expect you to be okay with this life," he said, "but I do expect you to understand something now." I looked up at him, heart pounding. "If anyone tries to take you from me," he said, stepping closer, "I'll burn this city down." I should have told him that was insane. That he didn't own me, that he had no right, but I didn't. Because when he said it, I believed him. And worse, I felt safe. That scared me more than any photo, any threat, any mysterious car outside my building. I was falling for the man who broke the world to keep it spinning his way. And I didn't want to stop. He reached for my hand, then, slow, like he was afraid I might pull away. I didn't. His fingers slid through mine, warm, steady. My pulse was wild under my skin, but his touch steadied something in me I didn't realize was shaking. "I need to go back," I whispered. "To the bar?" I nodded. "They'll think something happened to me." His jaw clenched. Something did. I looked at him, and for the first time I didn't see just the danger. I saw the man beneath it, tired, worn, made of scars and secrets. But still human. "Let me handle this my way," I said. "Let me be me a little longer." He hesitated, then nodded, but his eyes told me he didn't like it. That letting me go, even for a moment, felt like placing a loaded gun in someone else's hands. As I turned to pack my things, he reached for me, just one last time, fingers brushing my wrist. "If anything happens to you out there," "I know," I whispered. "You'll burn it down." And the terrifying part? I almost wanted him to. The minute I stepped out of his car, I knew I'd made a mistake. It wasn't the street. That was the same. Broken sidewalk, a rusted-out fire hydrant, the smell of city dust and old beer still in the air. It wasn't even the people. They barely looked at me, the same way they always did. It was the silence, the kind that comes before a storm. The kind you don't notice until it's too late. Jenna's eyes went wide when she saw me walk into the bar. "Oh my God, you are alive." I tried to smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Barely. Where the hell did you go? You disappeared. No texts, no calls. And then some guy showed up here asking questions." "What kind of guy?" She hesitated. "Not your Mafia boyfriend. This one was meaner, like soulless. Dressed nice, clean-shaven. Smelled like blood, if that makes sense." It did, and my stomach dropped. "They asked about your schedule," she added quietly. I didn't say anything, but I think he left a message. I followed her behind the bar. On the counter, tucked under the till, was a single playing card, a jack of spades. My fingers shook as I picked it up. On the back, written in black ink, were 3 words. "You chose wrong." I didn't even think. I just ran. I called Luca before I made it out the door. He didn't answer. That silence was worse than the card. I got into the alley. My breath was sharp, my legs like jelly. The world spun too fast. I couldn't think, couldn't feel, until I heard the car engine. A sleek black sedan pulled up fast, and then they stepped out. 2 of them. Both in suits, both armed. I could see the glint of the weapons under their jackets. "Get in the car," one of them said. I took a step back. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "You already did," the taller one said, smirking. "The second you got into his." Then I heard the click of a gun behind me. My body froze. "Don't run," a voice whispered by my ear. I didn't. They shoved me in the back seat. Cold leather, no windows, just shadows. The ride was silent, but I knew where we were going, war. They took me to a warehouse by the docks, the kind of place where people disappear. And there he was, Luca, kneeling, blood on his shirt, wrists bound, face bruised, but alive. My heart nearly ripped in 2 at the sight of him. I tried to run to him. A man grabbed my arm. Ah, a voice said behind me. Not so fast. A man stepped into view, mid-40s, elegant in a terrifying way, like death dressed in a designer suit. "This is your fault," he said to me. He was clean, quiet, careful, until you. Luca lifted his head. "Don't touch her." The man ignored him. "You think you understand our world, girl? You think you can walk in and change it with your soft eyes and your bartender charm?" I didn't answer. I just looked at Luca. Let him go. I whispered. Take me instead. Luca's head snapped toward me. No, the man laughed. You love her? Luca didn't speak. He didn't have to. It was all over his face. So be it, the man said. He pulled the gun from his holster, moved before I could stop myself, threw myself in front of Luca just as the shot rang out. But it wasn't me who took the bullet. It was the man himself, collapsing, blood blooming on his chest, behind him. A second figure, a woman, gun raised. Cold eyes, she looked at me, then at Luca. He went too far. I didn't ask who she was. It didn't matter. Luca's men stormed in moments later. Everything after that was noise, gunfire, screams, chaos, but all I saw was him, bleeding, shaking, alive, later. In the same bed I once swore I'd leave. He curled his body around mine like I was the only shield he needed. I thought I lost you, he whispered. You almost did, I said. I should have pushed you away, but you didn't. I couldn't. I turned to him, looked into those dark, ruined eyes. You're not my mistake, Luca, I whispered. You're my madness. He smiled, broken and beautiful. Then let's be mad together. And I let him kiss me, not because it was safe, not because it made sense, but because I loved him, and in his world of blood and shadows, that was the most dangerous thing of all, the end. Dangerous thing of all, the end.